welcome to Zeens and Roger. I'm going to be doing a tutorial today for a crochet granny stitch bag. I'm going to use 1 cake of Bernat Pop, which is an acrylic Aran weight yarn. There's 140 grams in this cake, and I'm hoping that this 1 cake will make a bag with very little leftovers. I've made this pattern before in a larger size. I have a PDF pattern available for free on my blog, and it is the pattern for a crochet beach bag. That was made with 2 Caron cakes, which are 200 grams a cake, and I pretty much used both cakes in that big beach bag that I made in the summer. This one is going to be using the same first stitches, and then we will go from there. But this one should be a lot easier, well, not easier, quicker than the original beach bag I designed, because it's going to be smaller. So let's get started. What I've got here is 1 cake, as I said before, and then a 4.5mm crochet hook. Let's get started straight away. First things first, make a slip knot and get it on your hook, and then chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then join to make a circle. So I'm just going to go into the first chain and pull the yarn through that first chain and pull through the loop on the hook as well, and then you've got a little circle in which you're going to work into. So first thing you need to do is chain 4, which counts as the first treble and 1 chain, and that's going to be like the first spoke we need and the space. So to make the rest of them, you need to do some UK trebles, so this is US doubles. So yarn over, insert the hook into the circle, yarn over again and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, so you've made your first UK treble, US double. Chain 1. So that's 1 and 2 spokes in the circle. So you need to do that until there are 12 spokes. So you yarn over, work into the hole, yarn over again, and then work through 2 loops and then 2 loops to do the repeat of that. So last one into the circle, chain 1, and then you're going to join to the 3rd chain of the 4 that you made at the beginning. So that is that one there. You join with a slip stitch. So you go into that chain and then you slip stitch it together. And at this point, if you want, you can just pull on that centre yarn that you started off with, just so it's nice and firm. So that's the first round, and that's the start of the bottom of the bag. The next round is, excuse me while I check my phone because I haven't memorised my own pattern. The next round, chain 3, which counts as the treble, and then make 2 trebles into the chain space. So 1, 2, 3, and then 2 trebles into this chain space here. 1, 2. So that is essentially your first granny cluster. And then what you want to do is chain 1, so there's going to be a little gap there, and then make 3 trebles into the next chain space. Remember they're US doubles. So that's a 1, 2, 3, and chain 1. And then you want to do that in each of the chain spaces that were made in between those 12 spokes. And go all the way around. So I'm just going to the last one now. So you make 3 trebles in the last chain space between the spokes, chain 1, and then you're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the initial 3 chain. So you just go under the first loop and under the second loop of that chain, yarn over and pull through all those stitches. So what you should end up with for round 2 is something that looks like this. So then we need to start round 3. To get to the point where we want to start round 3, we just need to slip stitch across the next 2 treble stitches and into this chain space. And then it's just repeating what you've done for round 2. So slip stitch in that one, slip stitch in that one, and into the next chain space. And then round 3 is repeat round 2. So 1, 2, 3, and then so that's your first cluster there. Chain 1, and then in between the next 2 clusters, and then you want to do 3 trebles in each chain space. So you've got your little granny clusters, and then it's round 4. So I will meet you at a point where we're at round 4. So we're ready for round 4. I've slip stitched across already, and I'm going to chain 3, and this time I want 3 trebles in this first chain space. Because it's going to be the base for an increase. So and then chain 1. So in each of these chain spaces there's going to be 4 trebles. And so you just do that around. Like that. Until we get to there. Okay, so I've done round 4. I'm going to join that with a slip stitch. And then, similarly to before, I'm going to slip stitch into the space we want to start the next round at. So we're going to slip stitch into the next treble, and then slip stitch into the space between the 2 granny stitches. So just get yourself in the middle and slip stitch into it, and that is where you're going to start the next round. So 1, 2, 3 creates the first stitch, and then make 2 trebles in that space, and that's your first cluster for this round. And the other difference between this round is that there's no chain 1 in between each cluster. You're just going to make a cluster in each chain space of the previous round and in between, in the middle of the clusters as well, and then that's creating an increase to make the bottom bigger, because everyone wants a bigger bottom. See? So you just do that all the way around and then join it again with a slip stitch, and I'll meet you back there. Okay, so we've gone round again. Excitingly, the colour changes started to happen, and that is pretty much the size of your bottom. Hope you don't mind me saying. And so we need to then start working in the round and making every row the same. You can make your bag bigger by following the pattern on my blog, and but essentially it's the same with the increases. You do a couple more rows around just ordinary clusters, and then you make another set of 4 trebles to make another increase, and that creates the larger bag. And of course you don't need to work in Aran either. If you wanted an in-betweeny size bag, you could work in double knit, and that would work too. So we've done that increase row, and so as before you're just gonna slip stitch across and into the chain space to begin again, and away you go. Just like that. And I can't remember if I need to do a chain space. I don't think so, but I'm going to check. It's always worth checking the pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is round 6. Round 6, so we want to have 3 trebles in each chain space and repeat around. So no chain 1 between these clusters at all. And then we're just going to repeat the rows, and as you repeat them you'll notice that the sides start to build up, as they're kind of doing already, but this will actually be the outside. This is the right side of the work, so eventually you'll want to turn it so that it is sort of like, this will be the inside. So you keep going until you reach the depth you want, and then make handles. I mean, obviously we're only working with 1 ball here, so we'll need to sort of have a look at what we've got left when we get to sort of a bag size, to work out what we're going to do with handles and if we want pom-poms. But let us just go around like this for a while. So what I'll do is just continue around in that vein, and then I'll be back when I've done a few more rows. I've decided that my bag has reached the size I want it to, certainly in terms of rows of granny clusters. The increase was here. This is where we did the clusters that were 4 trebles, and that was the first row of the rounds, and after that I did 13, so there's from here to there, that's 14 rows. The next row, I think probably I'm going to go round in half trebles just to finish off the bag and make it slightly have a neater edge. So I'm going to chain 2, and then all around I'm going to make half trebles. Now in the bigger bag pattern I've done trebles, not half trebles, but because this is slightly smaller I thought the ratio would be better. It might look a bit neater, a bit cuter, just to go round in each stitch doing half trebles. So I'm going to do that all the way around and then fasten off, and with the leftover yarn make the handles, and I've got about that much left so far. So for a small-ish bag you can do that from one cake, no problem, and I think it makes a good bag for a child actually. And this will become a present for one of my nieces. So I'm going to go around with the half trebles and join with the slip stitch and fasten off. So I've gone round, I fastened it off, snipped it. I'll sew that end in later. And so I want to make the handles next. But there's enough yarn that if you wanted to add an extra couple of rows then you can. It's just that I think this makes a good size bag. But there's plenty of yarn if you wanted to do an extra 2 rows before you do that last row there. So handles. I have already made one. And it's slightly different to the original pattern in that it is shorter and only 1 row of grannies in it. I'll grab it. I've got the original here, excuse me. You see it is a row of clusters here and a row of clusters there. For this one I've just done 1 row of clusters. Smaller bag, smaller handle. But if you want, I mean, there's nothing to stop you from doing a bigger handle. The pattern for this one is on the blog within that PDF. So to make this handle, I chained 71. So we'll do that. But before I show you, I just wanted to let you know that before I made this, I made some pom-poms. I got a little pom-pom maker, just a cheap one from a pound shop, and I made these pom-poms before I did the bag handle. That means that before I lose these colours because the yarn ball has changed to a different shade, it means that I've got a multiple of different colours of pom-poms rather than just saving it all until the end and having maybe just 1 or 2 colours left. So if you want to stop the crochet and make a few pom-poms, then that's the way to do it. So I made those pom-poms, then I made the handle, and I've made a couple more pom-poms in the next colour. And there were some before I got to that colour, I wound off all the rest of the green and put it to one side, just so I could have all those colours. I want those pom-poms at the end to be multicoloured. So I've got this much left now, and that'll be enough to do the last thing, which is the second handle. So, and I'm hoping that I've sort of eyeballed that there'll be enough on this skein to start with the blue and finish with the pink, but don't actually know until I do it. So let's get started. So for the handle, you just want to get a slip knot and then chain 71. So I've got my chain of 71. to make the handle as neat as possible, I like to work in the back bumps. I mean, you don't have to, you can just, in the second chain from the hook, you can work your stitches in just the top of each chain and then and go like that all along. However, the trick to a neat finish is to work on the underside of the chain, and so this is the front, and you can see that sort of telltale double strand of a chain. On the back there's a bump, and if you work into that, then the chain stays intact on the other side. So you can see that there's the chain I worked into, because I worked on the back loops. The chain is quite neat, whereas you just have one loop showing if you did it the other way. And maybe that's being fastidious, but I think it does look a little bit neater. If you're not fussed, it is a lot quicker to do it the other way. So in the second chain from the hook, you work in the back bump, and so you miss the first one and go in the second one, and you just put your hook in there. And if you want to, you could always make that chain with a bigger hook so that those bumps were easier to get into, because as I said, it does sort of take a little bit longer than just going in the front. So you just push it in there, and you're just doing a standard double crochet, American, US single crochet into the back bumps all the way along to the end, and then you turn your work and start making granny clusters. So I'm at the end. It didn't take too long actually to do it in the back bumps. It was fine. Next is just to do the row of granny clusters. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn the work, and do make a treble into the same stitch. So it's the one on the end. So treble in there, and what you want to do is skip 2 stitches and make 3 trebles, US doubles, into the next stitch. And do that all the way along. So miss 1, 2 stitches and 3 trebles in the next, and do that all the way to the end. And I don't actually know if I'm going to get to the pink on this. My eyeballing is obviously not as accurate as I'd hoped, so I'm just going to work all the way along to the end and then come back. I'm at the end of those clusters now. I've worked all the way along to the end, and I've got 3 stitches left, so I'm going to miss 2, and in the last stitch I'm going to make 2 trebles. So that's that row. Next row, I'm just going to finish off with a row of UK DCs or US SCs. So chain 1, which I've just done, and then single crochet, double crochet all the way along in each stitch. And then when you get to the end, fasten off and leave a tail for sewing to the bag. There isn't an end on this side, so you'll need a couple of scraps as well to sew this side of the handle onto the bag as well. So once you get all the way to the end, you fasten off so that you've got a strap like that. And then they'll be ready to sew on. So you've got your bag, and you've got 2 2 handles. So you want to pin your handles to your bag and then stitch them on. It's pretty easy. I'm not going to measure for this tutorial, but in real life you should absolutely measure it, because otherwise things will go wonky. Just tuck it in by 1 inch and then pin it in place. So this is one handle, and then fold it, curve it round, and then tuck it in so that it's on the other side, and then pin in place. And then you want to make sure obviously that it's equal distance to one another, and if you have a look inside, that's where I've pinned them. So you do the same with the other handle on the other side. So making sure again that it's even and it's spaced so that it matches the other handle, and just tuck it in and pin. Make sure there's no twist in the handle. And it's pinned in. Yours will be measured, so it will be accurate. Mine is just guessed for the second. And then use your ends to sew in place. I mean, you want to be secure, and it doesn't matter too much if your stitches show the other side either, because you can disguise them with pom-poms. So I'm just going to show you how I sewed the handles on, which is, let's be honest, fairly haphazardly. I don't think it matters too much about whether some of the strands show on the other side, because as I said, there will be pom-poms stuck on. I mean, you can use other things aside from pom-poms, but I quite like a pom-pom every now and again. So I'm just going to sort of stitch around and make sure that it's secure really onto the bag without worrying about neatness. I think this sort of project, you can get away with it. I'll show you the other side in a minute. So you just sort of go all the way around, maybe make a couple of stitches in the centre as well, and then, right, if you have a look on the other side, yeah, you can see a few stitches. Yeah, it looks like a mess, but don't worry. So just, I mean, you might want to make a few more stitches if you feel that you want it to be extra secure, but I'm just gonna tie that off a bit. There we go. Oops. And then snip that. Then work out where you want your tiddly-om-poms to go. Let's say we want 3 on here like that. So I just thread one of the long lengths of the bit you tied off your pom-pom with. Thread one through where you want it to go, like that. Get the other one, and then just sort of a couple of, maybe a stitch or 2 away from that. So it's there's the first one there, and here's the second one. Pull them both through like that, and then tie those strings together. And pull tightly. So that is not going to go anywhere. And then you sew in those ends. Well, you could probably snip them a bit shorter than that so you're not sewing forever. And so those ends get sewn in. And then you repeat that process with the other pom-poms and cover up all the stitches on your straps. And there you have a granny stitch bag with pom-poms. Don't know if you heard that thud, but upstairs a cat just jumped off a bed. So there's the second pom-pom. I'd advise sort of, yeah, pay more attention than I am. I'm rushing it now. So snip those. Let's get this a bit shorter so we're not sewing in those. Okay. And it's pretty much finished. So add as many pom-poms as you like. You can be a bit more careful with the stitching and have it not show on the other side if you didn't want to have anything like pom-poms. I know a couple of people have put flowers on and stuff like that before. So, you know, there's loads of different choices. If you've liked watching the tutorial, if you found it helpful, then please give me a thumbs up. That would be so appreciated. Subscribe, of course, because this won't be the last tutorial that I do, and it's not the first, so check out my channel for other videos. Like I said, the PDF pattern for the larger version is on my blog. I will put a link in the description box, and I'll put other info in there as well, anything that I think is useful. So I don't actually know if I mentioned this, but this particular colourway is called Paisley Pop. So there, thanks very much, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.